Thank you all. I want to call the City of Homestead Committee of the Whole meeting of Tuesday, August 15th, 2006 to order. Present are Councilwoman Bell, Councilman Hodge, myself, and Councilwoman Waldman. Got your name right this time? Yeah. I called her Garner at the earlier meeting.
I shaved 20 years off. I said, no, I'm at 30.
I want to apologize for the delay. We had an earlier meeting that ran late, so I want to thank you all for your patience, and I apologize again for the delay. We have before us the July 25th, 2006 minutes. Do I have a motion for approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Are there any comments? All in favor of approval?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 2B, road vacation for Southwest 172nd Avenue from 336th Street to the Turnpike. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Vice Mayor and council members, staff has recommended approval of a proposed road vacation, again, that's subject to letters of support from Florida City and utility companies, which we do have a number of utility company letters included in the packet saying they have no easements or need for that area. But the 172nd Avenue at that point, it's really over by Lake Shore to the south of Lake Shore, that undeveloped property across from San Remo, but deeper, closer to the Turnpike. 172 Avenue really is no viable use. The applicant had indicated that Florida City would also be willing to vacate that for their development, and we as well had no reason not to object to, or to object to rather, any vacation of that property. It's about half an acre plus or minus that's involved there, and I think we may have an applicant representative here tonight.
Okay. You know the drill?
Yes, sir. Steve Shiver, 47 North Chrome Avenue for the applicant, San Remo Homes. I have in the audience today Marco Romanelli and Jose Cotto, who are the principals of the development company. And the road to nowhere is actually bisected by the Turnpike. It was a road that had a north-southbound layout before, and the Turnpike cut it in half. So it's basically a road to nowhere. On the west side is the lake that they used to dig or fill the Prime Outlet Mall with. So that area is really nothing that's going to be utilized in the future as well. That is in Florida City. And also I'm very happy and proud to say that on behalf of San Remo Homes, they have made a very generous gesture in donating $25,000 to your park system. They're looking at developing through the site plan over 200 homes there, and have had a presence here before, and are really very philanthropic. I said that right. So we're pleased that they're doing that. And one other thing that I'm extremely pleased with is that they have also agreed to sponsor the Homestead Hospital Gala at the tune of $50,000 in the name of the City of Homestead. So I'd like to thank them publicly for their contribution. They've already been through site planning and all that, so that's not here, but I'd like to thank them publicly for their contribution to the community. And of course, urge you to support your staff's recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Shiver. Are there any questions or comments from council?
Mr. Vice Mayor, I see here from Adolpha Cable and from Bell South that there's no objection, and from FP&L that there's no objection. So with that being said, and it is the road to nowhere and Sherry's recommendation, I'll go ahead and move the motion there.
I'll second that, Vice Mayor.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second for approval of the vacation of right-of-way. Any further comment from council?
Question.
Ms. Bell.
Ms. Kamali, when someone comes for a road vacation, because that's obviously city property, city asset, and I understand if it's the road to nowhere, and I understand vacations, we do them all the time, is there a value attached to that particular piece? Or, since I didn't even think about it until the contributions were brought up, is there a value attached to that land since it is city property? This is a half an acre, right?
Yes, it is half acre. Really, legally, I don't know, legally, is there any value attached to a roadway?
We, in the past, past practice is we've not charged money for vacating roadways for the city. This is something that did come up, and we've never done it. We've never really caused this to happen. So, in terms of buying the property once you vacate the roadway, so it has not been something we've done in the past.
Okay. So since it's not something we've done in the past, does that mean it's not something we consider for the future? What does that mean exactly? I mean, whether you have a half an acre or an acre, there's obviously value attached. I mean, I appreciate the contribution, but I mean, I'm thinking about it, why do we not attach a value to vacated roadways if it's a half an acre or an acre?
You get a chance.
Okay, well, basically, I think that, what is there is something that we'll have to maintain that we're not using. Once development gets there, it's going to be a cost factor to us to maintain it, because we can't leave it overgrown if it's next to a development. They're certainly going to want us to maintain that. The fact is, I guess we could. We haven't as a practice. Normally, many of these things don't really position themselves that way as far as their locations and how they are, but we haven't, like I said, it just hasn't been a practice. That's why we didn't recommend it this time.
Well, Ms. Kamali, in the other city that you worked in, I believe it was Coral Gables?
I was a consultant.
Okay.
Yes.
What do other cities do? I'm just curious. Do we know?
Not to my knowledge. Usually other cities, they don't put a cost to a vacation.
They don't?
No.
Okay, thank you.
To my knowledge, no.
Well, it was actually just came in my mind because when we were talking about the donations, I thought, there's a value test.
Mr. Shiver?
Mr. Chairman, historically, there has not been a payment in the city of Homestead, and with my experience throughout the county, I don't know of any compensation being paid for that. Typically, the roads are split. Half of the land goes to the other owner, and half goes to the other, to the east or west or what have you. In that case, that is in this case is facilitating development. I mean, biting your nose to spite your face is probably not a good thing to do. I think at this point the development that comes from this creates or generates a significant ad valorem, and without the maintenance requirement that the city would have, I think the city overall will be compensated essentially for that contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Kurt, did you have something to add to that?
Well, I was just, Mike had brought that up, and I did not mention that, but that's normally what happens. The half goes to one property owner, the other half goes to the other, and I failed to mention that, so I wanted to bring that up.
No, I would think that probably to more accurately answer Councilwoman Bell's question is that in this very unique circumstance, there is no value to the public for keeping a piece of property designated as a right-of-way to nowhere. However, in a development context, the ability to shift your whole development over another 10 or 20 feet adds to your setback areas and so forth, and clearly there is some value there. It's probably not a $1-to-1 value as price per acre that was paid for the benefited parcel, but certainly it would seem that there is. And I'd like to ask Richard if it would it be clearly this was a voluntary contribution. Would an ordinance that set forth circumstances where we mandate contributions, would that be appropriate, or does that get into contract zoning issues?
Well, I don't think we would mandate contributions. I'd like to look at it. My knowledge is the same as Sherry's, which is I'm not aware that people are basically selling public right-of-way. But that doesn't mean that there's not a unique idea here where the city can, so we'll look into it and
I'd like to do that.
We'll give you a report.
And these are unique circumstances in this particular case, and if we're missing opportunities from time
I'd like to suggest, just for economies, that maybe Kurt, your staff could do a check of other cities to see what they do, and then if there's nothing there, then we will figure out if we can create something.
Well, let's take the lead. Why do we have to follow the pack? But, okay, did we have a motion and a second for approval? I think we did. I think the two of you. All right. Any further input? Public input? We'll close this public hearing. All right. Do we need a roll call vote? All in favor of the vacation of right-of-way? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Item 2C, surplus items and resolution. Tab 3.
Mr. Vice Mayor and Council, staff recommendation to approve the resolution designating the attached items that we have here as surplus property to be auctioned off.
I'll move the recommendation, Vice Mayor. Second. All right, we have a motion and a second for designation of surplus items. Any council question or comment?
No. Just, if I could just say one quick thing. For those of you in the audience, you might want to go on our website because there may be some things here with $1, $5, lots of stuff. I went through the list and used stuff, but it might behoove you to go through there and look. You might find a desk or something that you might want.
Some of it's confiscated property, and it might not be bad at all.
I know. People forget about that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Waldman. All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Councilwoman Bell, as Chair of Budget and Finance.
Thank you. The first bid that we have is 200612, school crossing guards, and it's the evaluation committee's recommendation that the bid be awarded to Staffing Connection Action Labor for the purposes of providing the school crossing guards at 3 local elementary schools. Mr. Ivy?
Councilwoman Bell, Vice Mayor, Council, staff's recommending just that the Connections Action Labor, Staffing Connection Action Labor was the lowest, most responsive bidder. We've been using them over the years. They've been very good.
I'll move the recommendation, Madam Chair. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from council?
Question, Madam Chair. Kurt, how does this contract price compare to where we were on the expire? Was this one that was expiring? I remember that was one of the first items we tackled when I came to council, that we realized we were spending a lot of money to do what a lot of us thought was the school board's responsibility.
Right. This is, in the paperwork here, it doesn't give me an update of...
Yeah, I didn't see that.
...of what...
Just curious as to what the increase was.
Yeah, what the increase, I can find that out and get that to you. As a matter of fact.
Just curious, no hurry.
Brian was out today.
And when did we begin assuming the responsibility of school crossing guards from the school board, from the county? Which I think is inappropriate, by the way.
2000?
They shifted it. We didn't assume it.
5 or 6 years.
That was one of our first issues.
And what was the I know we dealt with this a couple years ago. What was the rationale at the time?
The county, Dade County had been doing, through the Dade County Police Department, they had been doing it. They would continue to do that for everyone, but they would charge you, and then they had charged their administrative fee for handling that. And it actually became an issue that we could do it cheaper than what we would pay them to do it. So we got a company and we're doing it.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further comments, any questions or comments from members of the audience? All in favor say aye. Aye. And the ayes carry. Next item is purchase of the John Deere 644J front end loader and resolutions, tab 5. Mr. Ivy?
Again, this is a staff's recommendation to approve this purchase. This is for the Public Works Department. It is bought off a sheriff's already pre-bid, of all things, the Sheriff's Association. But it's bought with from the half-cent sales surtax.
Move the recommendation.
Cash purchase.
Move the recommendation, Madam Chair.
It's been properly moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Hodge. Yeah, I also want to say I got to see a lot of the beneficiaries of the half-penny sales tax on my day with Public Works, and it's nice to see that $1+ million, the city of Homestead reaping that and seeing how that. I think we could up the share a little bit, though, don't you, Julio? We'll have to work on that. It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. And the ayes carry. Item 3C, purchase of a 125-kilowatt generator for police department and resolution, and we all know how necessary this is. Mr. Ivy?
Again, this is a staff recommendation to purchase a trailered 125-kilowatt generator from the Cummings Power South LLC. This process, a little different from what we've seen lately, but it's in our purchasing process, that equipment meeting that's more than 25 but under 35,000 can be purchased with 3 bids, and this is Cummings was the lowest, most responsive bidder for the 125K. The PD, it's on a trailer, so it's mobile, it can be used.
I'll move the recommendation, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been properly moved by Councilman Porter. It's been seconded by Councilman Hodge. Any comments or questions from council? Any comments or questions from the audience? We know this is very necessary. We need this, especially if we have, when we talk about extended run scenarios, we're going to have a backup, and we need it to be mobile. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And the ayes carry. Item 3D, Homestead Police Entry Team Equipment and Resolution. And before we even discuss this, I would like to say right away, this is from forfeiture funds. Go ahead, Mr. Riley.
And actually, I just wanted to mention one thing here, and then I'll get into that. Okay, yeah, that's correct. This item is a purchase from forfeiture funds. There was, I guess, last year, the new budget year, there's some discussion about putting maybe the SWAT team back together, which we did have at one time. But when budget crunch came, that was one of the programs we eliminated in the police department, and we were using Dade County and Florida Highway Patrol to do our responses. Of course, as you know, when you ask Dade County and Florida Highway Patrol, there's only so much they can do. So the mayor had mentioned that he'd like to see us do another SWAT team, and this is our response to that at this time, was to develop an entry team, of which there's 15 members, and this is equipment for the entry team in terms of the protective gear they'll wear, this particular purchase, protective vest and body armor that they wear when they make the entry team. This will give us a lot more flexibility, especially in drug enforcement. When you work the streets and you do a good job on the streets, they move into the houses. So then you have to go into the houses. So for warrants, those kinds of things, this is we'll be able to do this on our own call, so to speak. We don't have to wait for Miami-Dade, who actually quit coming. Actually, they got so busy they couldn't respond to us, and we were using FHP.
I'll move it with a question, Madam Chair.
It's been moved by Councilman Porter, seconded by Councilman Hodge. Question, Councilman Porter?
There's no additional personnel with this. This is just equipment. So you'll use existing staff. It just gives them the tools they need to properly do the force entry.
Exactly. It's this is still a high liability activity, so you want to equip them properly. We have 15 members that made the team out of 40 that applied. So.
But the point is, in the case that they do have to do a force entry, they may not be properly equipmented now, and they're still having to do force entries. This gives them the proper equipment to do what they're doing anyway.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Porter. I agree. I think that when it comes to the safety of our police officers, that this is but a very small price to pay for the entry team. So it's been properly moved and seconded. Any comments or questions, further comments or questions from council?
Just want to say that, it's an excellent idea, and glad to see it.
Thank you, Councilman Hodge. Any comments or questions from the audience members? All in favor, say aye. Aye. And the ayes carry. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Bell. Councilwoman Waldman, Parks and Recreation Committee.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. As many of you may remember, when we brought up the Audubon Park, we had a division in the neighborhood. Some wanted all the improvements, some didn't. So we had many workshops, and I'm very proud of our Parks and Recs department, of course Kurt and Marlene and the rest of the staff, because they allowed me to actually hold, with my fellow council members, to hold workshops where we had wonderful representation and participation from the citizens of Homestead. Audubon Park is a public park. It just happens to sit in the middle of a small neighborhood. And now, of course, with the Keys Landing right there on the opposite side, it now has become a large neighborhood. But I want to point out to you that we did do a tour of the grounds with the Homeowners Association presidents and the neighborhood, or the VOH president, and anybody else that wanted to go on the little walkabout that we did. And we were able to come to some wonderful compromises. We are eliminating 2 large 24-foot rental pavilions. The key word there is rental. And there will not be any rental pavilions at Audubon Park. The ones that were already bought will be installed at Roby George Park and Harris Field, right, where they'll be more appropriately used. The reduction of the length of the interior walking path has been cut approximately to approximately 2/3 of originally planned path, with a minimum buffer of 25 feet from all property lines. So instead of the huge walking path, it's now going to be a very small walking path, and there will be at least 25-foot buffer from lines. New playground is to be located as close to the existing playground area as possible. Basketball court will remain 1/2 size rather than what we had originally talked about, which was a full court. The shoreline boardwalk and the gazebo have been eliminated at this time. The parking lot expansion will be reduced in scope from the planned 40 spaces to 16 spaces, which is just doubling the existing 8 spaces, so only 8 more spaces will be going in there. Additional trees, we have people who were very concerned that the view, their view, they didn't want to obstruct the view of the lake. So the additional trees will be planted in areas aligning side property lines. The park entries will include the bollards system to prohibit vehicular traffic within the park. This, I think, was the most serious issue that we have, is that we have so many complaints that people are there in the park with their cars when the park's closed. So that's been a great concern to us. All the other amenities remain the same, with the benches, the picnic tables, the game tables, swings, the 1 10 by 10 foot mini pavilion, the bicycle racks, receptacles, children's playground, and of course we still have the resolution of the drainage and lake slope issues that we still have to look at. So with that being said, we've done our homework. Parks and Recs have done their homework, and if this plan is authorized tonight, then we feel that all of our grant requirements have been met, so the $200,000 is still in place there. Any questions from council?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd just like to say that my house backs right up to that basketball court, and we as a community have had huge concerns about the magnitude of what was being proposed. But at the same time, I think the community also recognized the fact that it is a public entity, it is a public park, and it should be treated as a public neighborhood park. And I think this achieves that compromise, and now that we've made some decision that we may be able to do something more significant along the lines of a larger, more user-friendly regional recreational facility. I think that is where this type of an effort needs to go, is more along the line in a baseball stadium and less along the line in what is a neighborhood park. And I do commend you and Parks and Recreation, because the community was up in arms about what was being specifically with the rental pavilion and the 40 to 50 odd parking spots. It was just, there is a little bit of a problem over there now, obviously, major, that's a enforcement issue for us, and we'll deal with that as well from an enforcement side of the table. But I do think this is a very, very good compromise. The community that spoke to me, I said, you can't eliminate walking paths. I mean, we've had walking paths in our backyards for years and years and years, and they're not that terribly bad. So I want to commend the staff and you for really coming up with something that makes sense. And I think the community can endorse, even the ones that wanted nothing to happen can still buy into the fact that you're still providing a good public area, but not at the detriment of the community. So thank you.
Any other questions?
Ms. Walden? I understand the rationale behind removing the 2 big gazebos, or rental gazebos. And I hope that as we move forward and get down into micro-designing the park formerly known as Humpty Dumpty Park, that maybe that type of amenity can be added there. I view that as somewhere between a neighborhood park and a regional park. And while Roby George is a neighborhood, and so those have been reprogrammed over there, it is somewhat remote from most of the population of Homestead, and I think we need to have those sprinkled somewhere in addition to Harrisfield and Roby as we finish up Humpty Dumpty and some of the others, because that is a nice thing to have closer to home.
Absolutely.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from council? Any comments or questions from the audience? You're welcome. I just want to say that this was a huge compromise on both parts. I mean, there were moments when I didn't know whether they were going to be able to come to a compromise, but thank you very much to the residents and to staff.
I'll move the recommendation.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilman Porter, seconded by Councilman Hodge. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Porter, public safety, I think we can take the first three items as a single item.
I agree, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to talk about item A, B, and C together. They're all a requirement that we need to generate a relationship with the homeowners to be able to go in there and police their streets. Mr. Manager, is anything else that you want to point out?
Well, that this is a 1 year and it's an evergreen. If we have the ability to cancel if it doesn't work for us, but if it's working, it automatically renews. And it also indemnifies the city and provides liability insurance.
Okay.
Of course, working in that.
Any questions from council? Any discussion? Any questions from the community? Is there a motion?
I make
Motion.
It's moved and seconded. Any final discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. And then last item is item D, which is a Justice JAG grant. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Porter, Vice Mayor and Council, it's staff's recommendation to accept a grant of $41,505 from the Bureau of Justice. It will provide for overtime money, which we use for the operations, which we do quite often, hotspot, what we call hotspot operations. And that's where we're having particular problems somewhere in the community. On overtime, we put together a group of officers that go and work that problem until it's solved. Usually we solve them all at that time, and it's quiet for a while, and then at some point in the future you have to go back. But this money be used for OT to do those hotspot operations, and also to fund one part-time SOS case manager who will assist the victims of crime. And there's no match indicated here that we need.
I'll move it.
Second.
Moved and seconded. And Mr. Manager, no additional staff with this. This is existing staff.
Existing staff.
Okay.
Good point, yes.
Any other discussion? Any comments from the public? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. That's all.
Thank you, Councilman Porter. Mr. Manager, anything further from the committee of the whole?
Yes, I have one item this afternoon that came up somewhat semi-emergency item, but in the West Industrial Park, we currently have a sewer project going on there to improve the sewer system and improve the infrastructure, rather, for the West Industrial Park. We do have our firm, our contractors working there. They seem to be moving more quickly than we had anticipated, because we wanted to split between the 2 years, last budget year and this budget year, for that project to be completed. However, they're right at the end, and to avoid them having to leave the site and come back again, which is more expensive for everybody and more time-consuming, we would prefer them to go ahead, and they're about a month and a half early in their project, is to be able to have CRA, it's a CRA project, borrow $500,000 from our fund balance to be paid after October 1st back to us when the new budget comes in, so that that contractor can continue that project.
You need a motion? I'll move it. Second.
Any questions from council? Further comments?
You're going to do the project anyway, it's just a matter of timing.
It's just timing. They were actually faster, and then they don't have to remobilize again and all of that.
More cost effective.
Mr. Hodge?
Yeah.
And I was always taught, you never stop a man from working. So if he's working and doing a good job, you want to keep him there.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any further business, Mr. Manager? No.
None, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Mr. Weiss? Councilwoman Bell? Councilman Hodge? Councilman Porter?
No, sir.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Just a reminder that we have a groundbreaking for Estrella Park Tuesday, it's going to be Tuesday at 9 o'clock.
Wait for the day? Yeah. Thank you. And I want to announce that this coming Monday, prior to our council meeting at 5:30 p.m., this will be publicly noticed, we will have a charter review workshop for council here at 5:30, what's that? Okay, why am I two months off on the calendar here? The 21st. No, I had to look at the right page. So, in your council packages that are distributed Friday afternoon, there will be a comprehensive package regarding all of the proposed, 5:30, all of the proposed amendments as well as the recommendations. Thoughtful items to be placed on the ballot, but other items that are within the purview of the council as to the charter that can be enacted by ordinance. The committee also has issued some recommendations for changes by ordinance, so that's at 5:30 Monday. I have nothing further. Any public comment?
Emergency vehicle, is that in place?
Is that the mobile command unit?
That's going to take probably well into next year to build. That's correct. So it'll be here for next year's season, I think.
Okay. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned. Right.